Welcome to MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. Each week, I talk with industry leaders on both marketing and entrepreneurship and business to find out all about their wins and failures in marketing right now. We'll hear all about successes and wins and what's fallen flat so that you can take that knowledge and implement it. Learn from the best, from the folks who've been there and done it all, as well as people just like you. Thanks for joining us. This is MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers.
Ever wonder how to grow your business without losing sight of your values? Jim Diebold shares how faith-driven entrepreneurs can scale with purpose and integrity without the fluff. Jim is a certified master business coach, leadership trainer, and is a partner of Focal Point Business Coaching, where he helps faith-driven entrepreneurs and executives scale their business with purpose. With a background in electrical engineering, Jim's journey took an unexpected turn when he moved into sales and leadership roles and eventually running his own business. His coaching practice is built on integrating faith and business, helping leaders navigate growth, decision-making, and leadership while staying aligned with their values. Jim's passionate about creating a community of business leaders who want to build success through biblical principles, integrity, and strategic planning. Jim, welcome to the show.
Paul, thank you so much. Really excited to be here.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. There's an interesting side to this in that I'm agnostic, right? I'm not a faith-based person myself per se. I'm not a disbeliever. I don't particularly believe anything myself, but I don't disbelieve in other people's faith. So I find faith really interesting and fascinating. And I'd like to think that I live by a lot of the values that most people of faith live by also, which I think a lot of good people do, which is why I find this conversation really interesting, because we talk a lot in business about authenticity and being ourselves. And most people are very anxious about what authenticity means in different situations. And I think having those principles and ethics and morals that guide us are really important in those moments to help us see what's important. So I'm looking forward to getting into this with you, Jim. Let's rewind back to the beginning of your story. So you started out as an electrical engineer. As a kid, is that something you wanted to be? Did you want to be an electrical engineer, or is that kind of something that you fell into in the first place?
No, it's an interesting story, Paul. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I enjoyed math and science, and not really having a great, say, guidance counselor or whatever in high school. And neither of my parents went to college. My dad comes from the quintessential blue collar family where you did everything yourself. Gene did not land in me anywhere. I did not like working on the cars or pulling things apart and stuff like that. So my very engineering logical process to figure all that out was I looked at various jobs that were available, or I should say disciplines that were available, and what they earned as a median income. And I went in order from top to bottom. Top was doctors, which was no more school for me. So I wasn't going that direction. Then lawyers, again, no more school. So I wasn't going that direction. Third category, engineers. So that was my logical process for deciding to become an engineer. And then the funny part is I've actually never sat at a desk and engineered anything.
I think you've told a story there that so many of us have struggled with in our early lives, right? Like, it doesn't matter where, I can't speak for the Eastern hemisphere of the world, but I know in the Western world, career guidance is terrible generally, right? It's terrible for young kids. And we still don't seem to have moved on in many instances from you need to pick a career path. You need to follow your career path for the rest of your life. And that is it. You need to pick it at 7-year-old and you need to work towards it. And you need to know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, you're a weird person. Like, why don't you know what you want? And yet the vast majority of people, never mind children, don't know what they want. You know, I didn't realize what I wanted to do till I hit 35, 40-year-old. And I see lots of examples of that throughout the world. You know, a lot of people hit their stride in their midlife because they've experienced the world and they've found what is enjoyable. And I think that's the crux. What's interesting is you've almost seemed to have done what I'd advise most young people to do, is to kind of forget about what you think you should be doing. Look at what you think you'll be good at. And you've obviously identified really early that you didn't want to do anything hands-on. You wanted to do something a bit less hands-on, a bit more strategic thinking. You obviously recognized that in yourself early, which is brilliant. So you started as an electrical engineer, but you didn't engineer anything. What?
Yeah.
Where did that go?
So I'm fortunate to have all of the uncles on my mom's side of the family went to college, and everybody, I think, in their family has that one like really successful person that stands out above everybody else. And having a conversation really with all my uncles, but him in particular, he always said, "Hey, if you really want to be successful in the financial sense, you have to get into sales." Know what I didn't know. So I didn't even ask questions. I'm like, meaning I didn't ask questions, meaning like, what does that even mean? I was just like, okay, must get into sales. Like that was it. That's how simply I process things. And so when I was doing interviews, getting graduated with my degree, I really did not know what I was setting myself up for to be an electrical engineer. And all of these interviews, I actually started to nod off in one of them. I was tired and it was not an interesting interview at all. And literally was concerned about what choices I had just made and spending all the money I did to get the degree I got. And thankfully, I did wind up with a nice role. And one of the, proverbial questions, what do you want to do in 3 to 5 years? And I just said, sales. I want to be in sales. And that really kind of launched everything for me. My wife and I are from St. Louis, Missouri, and the sales role is what moved us here to Cincinnati, Ohio back in 1999. And the rest of my career really has launched from that simple decision.
What was their reaction when, as an electrical engineer, you told them you wanted to be in sales? Because I can't imagine that's a natural career progression for many, right? I'd imagine they're a bit surprised.
That's actually a great question. But interestingly enough, the organization that I was interviewing with hires engineers, or used to back in the day, hires engineers to be their salespeople because at the time, our primary responsibility was to go into engineering firms or to talk with design engineers at an electrical contractor or whatever. So they wanted us to be able to have, at least relational information, commonality with each other so we could talk the same language. So actually back in the day, the title was district sales engineer. Now they hire whoever. I mean, it doesn't, it's because the process is totally different than it used to be. I was on the tail end of all of that. So,
but it makes sense to have that subject matter expert doing the selling.
Sure.
Because what I see a lot of the time, especially in B2B and certainly around SaaS or technical products, is the salespeople get armed with a veneer of knowledge, and then inevitably they go into to sell the product or service, and the client asks a deeper question, and the sales engineer kind of falls off the rails a bit because, I don't know, I'll have to go and find that out. And immediately the trust's lost. You need to make that incredible first impression. You've already lost it because your salespeople don't understand the next level.
I would agree. There's definitely some level of knowledge on the front side is important, but a trap that salespeople will fall in is the more they know, the more they'll start spewing facts about stuff. And that's really not the important part. It's the relationship. So we can get to facts and features and all that stuff later, but it is an interesting thing that I've seen over the years now, having been through a sales role myself and owning a sales organization and now being a coach, doing a lot of sales training. People really like to get stuck on features and benefits and the what's and the how's and all that. And to your point, they miss the why of what they're doing and creating that relationship. So it's been very educational over these last 30 years.
I often say to people that we have a big problem in sales generally, in that the most successful salesperson gets promoted to the sales management position. But because you're good at selling doesn't necessarily make you a good leader. In fact, quite often it doesn't make you a good leader. It means you're very kind of aggressive, metrics oriented, not very leadership, not very people person, but you're good at building relationships with the clients. So obviously you had that. Where do you think that ability to lead came from?
Honestly, for me, there was definitely training that was needed that I got from Focal Point. But even before that, I really do believe it's my ability to relate to people and listen. Now, don't get me wrong. I was definitely the person that fell into the camp of listening to respond versus listening to learn earlier on in my career. But my ability to just connect with people, the empathy, and the genuine care to understand what they're going through. As I look back on it, I really do believe that's just something that I have, and it has served me very well. So while I can be can't think of the word, the press into things and move forward and get things going, I'm more the attract more flies with honey than vinegar kind of guy. And I've just seen more results around that type of approach than having to be, the type A personality, which I can do. I just prefer not to.
I think I think we can all do that. But yes, it's not, for the vast majority of people, it's not a pleasant style of leadership to drive forwards with. And we would all rather work with the former. I wonder, so we're going to come back to faith in a moment, but at this point during all these years, I assume that you have faith behind the scenes as well, right? Like, do you think that was a guiding principle that led you towards that relationship building and that value first relationships?
I really do believe it. So I will say that a lot of my understanding now is looking back on things. I grew up in a household we were Catholic. We went to Catholic school. We went to church all the time. So faith was certainly a big part of our everyday life. But in all objectivity, I would say it was a little more accidental than intentional. So it's one thing to go to school or go to church, but it's another thing when you're away from those environments. What are you doing? Like, how are you living out those principles other than just being nice or just being good, right? Those are not the same thing. Hence my whole progression here recently as a business coach serving Christian business owners. So yeah, I do believe that was definitely a part of it, but it was more subconscious, more reactive than proactive. And through this whole journey of mine, I can see where certain things happened for a reason and certain things didn't happen for a reason to put me where I am today, which there's no doubt in my mind, I'm exactly right where I'm supposed to be, at least for right now. And it's been an amazing journey, and everything right now has been like best thing ever. So it's really phenomenal.
Special shout out in today's episode for our charity partners, ADHD Liberty, led by Sarah Templeton, who are part of the fight to prevent the school to prison pipeline for ADHD and neurodiverse individuals. If you'd like to find out more, you can visit them. The show links are in the notes below, and I would encourage you to go along and have a look and educate yourself on their fight. It's an incredibly important cause, and we're super proud to have them as charity partners for the MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers podcast. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your episode. What was the turning point for you where you decided to give up on the sales leadership role itself and start to coach people? Because I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, I assume that you moved into sales coaching first and the business coaching came with that. Is that fair?
It was all simultaneous. So I will give a quick part of the story. I was able to have an independent agency here in Cincinnati, a partner and I. That was the stint where I was a business owner, and I was the guy working 50 hours a week and pretty miserable. I was drained when I got home. I know I wasn't a good dad or husband during that time. And at about the 5-year mark, my partner left. I closed the company. And it was the best thing ever. But then I spent about 10 months doing some independent work and not very well. And I spent 8 months doing nothing. And that was a big part of my faith journey as well. A lot of wrestling and a lot of crying and yelling and all kinds of, certainly a lot of praying. And I ran into a franchise broker who was representing Focal Point. We started to have this conversation, and I met one of the local guys, and everything just resonated. And so here I am in this capacity as a business coach where I get to help people not be like I was, which was 50 hours a week and very unintentional about how I was going about business. It was all putting out fires and running from opportunity to opportunity with, like I said, no real intentionality. And so through the focal point training, I have all of this content and this process at my disposal, not to mention a whole team of people to help. The coaching was automatic, obviously, because that's the whole premise of the organization. But for me, given my background and the new content that I had, and honestly, things that I had never learned before, even in 20 years of having been in a sales role, was, I'll even say, revolutionary to me. And it has greatly helped the folks that I've been able to serve over the last 5 years. And so they really go hand in hand. So when I start having a conversation with someone and we start going through what their challenges are, no owner says, I don't need to grow anymore. Like no one ever says that. So we talk about how are we getting our leads and how are we closing? That's the big part. How well are we closing our opportunities? And so we get to work through that, and one-on-one coaching with an owner or with other leaders in the organization, and then doing sales training for a team or leadership training for up and coming leaders. It's fantastic. So it's all intertwined.
It sounds incredibly rewarding, and it's clear to see
Very much.
that you enjoy and mean and this is why I love video so much, right? I can look you in the eyes and I can see the passion and energy that you've got for what you do. And as a coachee, I can imagine that's really powerful to know that you've got that belief in that side of things. One of the things that we draw back to quite a lot is personal brand. And, there's a big misconception out there that personal brand means how you are on social media. Like you've got this personal brand, you've got all these followers, right?
Right.
Personal brand is something that follows you around no matter where you go and what you do. It's how people perceive you when you're not in the room.
Yes.
Which I think, if I align that with your focus on values and morals as well as strategy and mission, I think that's really important for the business owners you work with. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And this transformation, if that's the right word, or metamorphosis, is over these last 5 years, I have been sprinkling in my faith. Interestingly enough, and really by no surprise, most people are believers. They just don't overtly talk about it or whatever. And so opportunities would present themselves. And so I could just speak in a little biblical truth. And it was always oh yeah, that's right. It's like, because we're not being intentional with those things. But when it comes to the brand and the faith, at least here in the States, more and more, you see folks with some type of symbol, Christian symbol on their trucks, on their vehicles, on their website, on whatever marketing media. So people are becoming more willing to overtly show that they're Christians. I think it's great, just in this, even if just from the sense of there's no reason to not promote that, right? There's just no reason to not do that. There's no reason to feel like we can't or shouldn't, right? It is part of who we are. So why wouldn't you do that? I mean, we're having ultimately this conversation around purpose and values and why, which typically is because something happened. And I don't want people or the person doesn't want to have other people fall into their same circumstances like me. I don't want people to work 50 hours a week. We can actually scale businesses and work 40 or less hours a week if we do it right. We just need a little collaboration and guidance to do those things. Well, so same thing with those principles and those values, and creating your brand around being comfortable with the fact that you're a Christian and just saying, you know what, I am. And that's part of how I operate my business. Look at my core values on the wall. Look at my vision and mission statement. It should encompass who I am as a person. And that's my guiding force, right? Even if you're not. And you said something great at the beginning. You're absolutely correct. You don't have to overtly say that you're a Christian in order to live with great moral principles and things like that. And not to go down a tangent, but the piece would be like, where did those morals come from? Like, are they written on us somehow, or, where do they come from? That's a whole different discussion though. So, but I love that. I love that comment.
It is a different discussion, but it's also intertwined, I think, with marketing. And I can't help but wonder how much of that helps make it really incredibly clear to business owners what they should be using as a guide and principle when they're setting out their stall. Because like I said at the beginning, most business owners struggle to show how they're unique. what makes me different to everybody else in the marketplace who does what I do, if there are others that do what you do, and to showcase why people should align with you as opposed to others. And I think your journey into faith-based support for other business owners is fairly recent as well, right? You've probably been doing it unintentionally for a while, but this is something you're now much more focused on. What was the turning point for you to decide, right, I need to be unique in this way?
Yeah, no, great question. It is recent, actually, less than 2 months ago. I remember the morning, it was February 6th. And like I shared just a minute ago, I have been kind of filling in faith components, but that's more reactive. The client would say something or express something, and then I would offer, like I said, some of the truths from the Bible. Well, I was driving on my way to a meeting on the morning of February 6th, and it just overcame me. It's like, you just need to say that you're helping Christian business owners, period. Just do that. And I was like, okay. I mean, I'm not 100% sure exactly what that looks like, to be honest, but I know in talking with people what they're hungry for, what they're thirsting for in their business lives. And that is more intentionality around who they are as Christians. And so for me, it's even a journey. It's always a journey for us. And if you read in the Bible, God doesn't let you know what the plans are. He really only lets you know what the next step is. So that's why they always call it a step of faith. So I've taken that step of faith and I've made that proclamation. That's what I'm doing. And ever since I've done that, more and more opportunities are coming forward, which is just amazing in and of itself. But it was that morning where and he was the first person I told. I said, "You're not going to believe," and it's another Christian who's doing some other Christian work with Christian business owners. And so I told him what happened on the way, and we just had a great conversation around the whole thing. And so what's important to me, what I've realized is how many business owners are wanting to do this and be more intentional. So I always have conversations with my clients when we are not controlling what we're doing throughout the day, things go off the rails. The thing is, no one drifts into greatness, right? We drift off the proverbial cliff. We have to be very intentional to get great. Well, the same thing holds true for faith. We're not going to drift into demonstrating our faith. We have to be intentional with the things that we're doing. And so that's my plan as of February 6th, is to help people, including myself, be more intentional with how they are demonstrating their faith and living by those principles through their business, but it'll ripple into their entire life and out from there.
It will. And it's a great example of, I'm going to use the British pronunciation of it, niching. It's a great
Niche.
example of niching right down into what you want to do with your business, with your life, what resonates with you and what your values are, and being very specific about so many businesses out there. You talk to them and who are your clients? Well, it's all of these people here. But yes, that's a subsection of the great wide world, fine. But within that, there are people who align with you. There are people who don't. What separates those people off? And how can you find more of those people to talk to them more directly? Because if you try and talk to everyone, you talk to no one. I'm quite vocal about, I love to work with ADHD business owners, whether they realize they are or not. Inevitably, most of my clients are ADHD or neurodiverse because I am. I find it easy to communicate with people who are, because we connect the dots so easily and share those things with each other. And so that's, but you've got, it takes courage, I think. And if I'm honest, I haven't quite made the same leap of courage that you have, right? Like, I haven't gone all in on ADHD business owners yet. Maybe I will, I don't know. But how much guidance do you think most business owners need in order to make that leap? Do you think it's something that helps when it comes from the outside, or do you think they already have it within them? They just need that transition moment, that transformation point?
I would say the answer to that question is still probably a work in progress for me, in that I don't fully know, because I haven't had enough of those conversations just yet. It's other conversations I've had, because I'm certainly not, this is not unique, right? I'm not the first person to go, "Oh my gosh, what a great opportunity. I should do this." And I'm the first one. Oh no, I'm like the millionth one, right? There's plenty of coaches or organizations that are centered around the Christian faith that do this. But there are so many business owners that are looking for a way. And to your point, or I should say maybe a component to your point is even within the niche, I'm not going to resonate with everybody. Not everyone's going to resonate with me. And that's okay because there's just no shortage of opportunities for any of us to have an impact in what it is we're doing, whether it's products or services. So it's a fantastic opportunity to just focus. And as a marketer, you understand like focus, the smaller fishing net we use, the more we catch, which is like counterintuitive, but it's true. And I will say that I'm not intentionally excluding anyone either, by the way. This isn't to say I wouldn't work with someone that's not a Christian or an overt Christian. Maybe I'll say it that way because my heart is to serve. I love helping people. I always have folks that are on the, what's the word? Pro bono side of things. I love giving back. And so it's a real passion of mine. And so I get to help people every day. Like I literally just get to help people and it's amazing. But yeah, having that niche is going to be big. As far as helping others, a really cool story is communicating with another friend of mine. He's like, you know what? Your boldness has emboldened my partner and I to do a similar thing because they're also believers. And so just by me taking that step and verbalizing it has given them the confidence to do the same thing. So, I mean, that alone to me is a win. It's really cool to kind of be a part of that. And from a Christian faith perspective, we would call that being used by God to make things happen. And so it is really cool and humbling and gratifying and all kinds of great adjectives to be used to be able to be a small part of someone's process like that, just like being a coach and helping them unlock their mind around the things that are going on in their business. So yeah, it's all very connected to me. And yeah, it is fantastic.
It's genuinely humbling to hear you talk about these things. I just think that, if you were to take religion out of the equation, the conversation stays the same for so many people.
It does.
Like religion, it's the shell that you put around it. It's not a shell I have around it. There's some people have different shells, but ultimately it's about the values and the morals and the ethics that lie underneath it all. And if you can set those free into your marketing, into your business mission, your strategy, your outlook, your authenticity, it just becomes so much easier to be you and find other people like you. And I think that's the critical thing for most businesses is being able to reach those people on an emotional level, to know what makes them tick so that you can speak to them as one of them. And I think that's really important message for people to take away from today. Jim, I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. If anybody's listening along and they want to find out a bit more about you, about your coaching, how can they reach you? What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so they can reach out on LinkedIn, of course. My extension is just Jim-Diebold for the LinkedIn extension. They can certainly get a hold of me, depending upon where they're at in the world, but they can get a hold of me on my cell phone, which is 513-444-0067. Or email, of course, is easy. It's Diebold, Diebold, at focalpointcoaching.com, all one word.
Brilliant. We'll make sure all that's in the show notes for you as well. Thank you very much, Jim.
I appreciate
having you as a guest today. Thanks for coming along and spending your time with us early in the morning. I hope you have a fantastic day and we'll speak soon.
Paul, you too. Thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you at home for watching along and joining us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and I'll see you next week for another fantastic guest on season 2 of MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. Contact details are in the show notes and I'd love to hear from you. Your host today was me, Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Here at Javelin, we specialise in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. We describe it as getting ideas out of your head into video and out to your socials. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximise your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next Wednesday for the next episode and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. Our podcast is only possible with your continued support.